Imagine a leader who does not hesitate to break moral norms, shape public opinion through manipulation, and act decisively, regardless of the ethical costs. This might sound like a figure out of a dystopian novel, yet it is a vision presented by one of the most influential political thinkers in history, Niccolò Machiavelli. His work The Prince, written in 1513, is often seen as a manual for ruthless political leadership, suggesting that power is attained and maintained through pragmatic, sometimes unscrupulous means. But within this advice lies the concept of the new prince, a figure who must adapt to changing times and use a blend of pragmatism, cunning, and virtue to navigate the political landscape. Machiavelli's New Prince is a sharp departure from the traditional monarchs of his time, leaders who often relied on inherited power, divine right, and the structures of feudal society. Instead, the new prince represents a more dynamic, strategic form of leadership, one that is not bound by the old conventions. But can Machiavelli's insights into leadership, which were forged in the context of Renaissance Italy, still be relevant today? Can his ideas be applied to modern CEOs, political leaders, and entrepreneurs who operate in non-monarchical, complex, and competitive global landscapes? This essay explores the evolution of the new prince from Machiavelli's time to the present, analyzing how his ideas about leadership transcend monarchy and can still inform contemporary leadership. Before we delve into the intricacies of Machiavelli's political philosophy, welcome to the Unfolding Journey YouTube channel. Here we embark on intellectual journeys that explore timeless philosophical ideas and their relevance in the modern world. Whether you're a curious thinker, an aspiring leader, or someone seeking a deeper understanding of political dynamics, you'll find thought-provoking content that challenges conventional thinking and encourages personal growth. Now, let's dive into the world of Machiavelli, where power, politics, and strategy converge to create a complex portrait of leadership. Machiavelli's The Prince and the Concept of the New Prince. Niccolò Machiavelli, born in 1469, was a diplomat and political theorist in Renaissance Florence. His most famous work, The Prince, is a treatise on political power and leadership, offering advice to rulers on how to secure and maintain control. It is often seen as a pragmatic and sometimes cynical guide, focused on results rather than ideals. At its core, The Prince is about the realities of power, how it is gained, how it is preserved, and how a ruler can navigate the treacherous terrain of politics. The concept of the new prince is introduced as a response to the rapidly changing political landscape of Machiavelli's time. During the Renaissance, Italy was not a unified nation but a patchwork of city-states, each competing for power. The old feudal structures were breaking down, and the traditional systems of leadership, based on heredity, divine right, or inherited status, were increasingly ineffective in the face of new challenges. The new prince, then, is a figure who rises to power through personal ability, strategic decision-making, and the capacity to adapt to changing circumstances. Machiavelli contrasts the new prince with the traditional monarchs of his time, who often inherited their positions and relied on the support of established power structures. These monarchs were often seen as symbols of stability, but they were also vulnerable to the changing tides of politics. In contrast, the new prince is a leader who does not rely on inherited wealth or power, but rather on his own virtues, his cunning, adaptability, and ability to seize opportunities. Characteristics of the new prince. Personal ability and virtue. The new prince must possess virtue, a concept Machiavelli uses to describe the qualities that enable a leader to shape his destiny. Virtue is not virtue in the traditional moral sense, but a combination of strength, cunning, decisiveness, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. A prince with virtue is able to mold events to his advantage, even if this means resorting to deception, cruelty, or manipulation when necessary. Ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Unlike the traditional monarch, whose power is often tied to inherited positions and rigid structures, the new prince must be highly adaptable. Machiavelli emphasizes the need for a ruler to adjust his strategies according to the specific circumstances of his time, whether this means making alliances with powerful factions, using force when necessary, or understanding when to act mercifully to win the favor of the people. Seizing opportunities. The new prince does not wait for fortune to favor him. He actively seeks out opportunities to advance his power. Machiavelli frequently discusses the role of fortune in a ruler's success. However, he argues that while fortune plays a role, it is ultimately the prince's ability to seize opportunities that determines his success. Machiavelli's ideal ruler is someone who can act decisively when the moment arises, using both skill and luck to advance his cause. Ruthlessness and the ends justifying the means. one of the most controversial aspects of Machiavelli's philosophy is the emphasis on the idea that the ends justify the means. In The Prince, Machiavelli is unapologetic about advising rulers to use manipulation, cruelty, and deceit when necessary to maintain power. The new prince must understand that moral considerations can often be secondary to the practical necessity of securing and holding power. While this may sound brutal, Machiavelli argues that rulers must sometimes make difficult choices to ensure the stability of the state. Focus on public perception. Another key feature of the new prince is the importance of managing public perception. While the traditional monarch might rely on divine right or inherited legitimacy, the new prince understands the power of image and reputation. Machiavelli stresses that it is better for a ruler to be feared than loved, as fear is a more reliable motivator for loyalty. However, he also notes that a prince should avoid being hated, as this can lead to rebellion. What if suffering was not something to be avoided but rather something to be embraced? What if pain, struggle, and hardship were not signs of weakness, but pathways to a higher, more authentic existence? These questions lie at the heart of Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy, a worldview that is often as controversial as it is enlightening. Nietzsche's ideas challenge many of the conventional beliefs that society holds dear, such as the pursuit of happiness as the ultimate goal or the belief that suffering should be alleviated at all costs. In Nietzsche's eyes, life's hardships aren't burdens to escape. They are opportunities to forge something greater, to push beyond limitations, and to achieve a form of personal greatness that transcends traditional norms. In a world where comfort and convenience are often seen as ideals, Nietzsche's philosophy offers a radical alternative: to embrace suffering and struggle, seeing them as essential components of growth, transformation, and ultimately, the will to power. This idea of becoming who you are is central to Nietzsche's worldview, where self-overcoming and embracing life in all its complexity and difficulty are not just recommended, they are essential for true human flourishing. But how can we interpret and apply this philosophy today? How can we view life's challenges as stepping stones toward greater self-realization, rather than mere obstacles? In this essay, we will delve deeper into Nietzsche's philosophy, examining his views on suffering, struggle, and growth, and explore how his revolutionary ideas might resonate in our own lives. Before we dive into Nietzsche's profound and often perplexing philosophy, welcome to the Unfolding Journey YouTube channel. Here we embark on a deep exploration of the human experience, unraveling the complex tapestry of philosophical ideas, self-growth, and personal empowerment. Just as Nietzsche's philosophy challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truths about existence, we are dedicated to guiding you through the exciting yet sometimes difficult journey of self-discovery, resilience, and transformation. Whether you're seeking intellectual stimulation or practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life, you'll find thought-provoking content that invites you to question, reflect, and grow. Now, let's begin our exploration of Nietzsche's philosophy of life, where suffering, struggle, and growth are not only acknowledged but revered as the keys to realizing the fullest version of ourselves. Nietzsche's radical philosophy: suffering as a path to strength. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy stands in stark contrast to many traditional systems of thought, especially those influenced by Christianity and Enlightenment ideals. Nietzsche's famous proclamation that God is dead was not merely a statement of atheism but a radical critique of the moral system that had dominated Western thought for centuries. In Nietzsche's view, traditional moral frameworks often preached resignation, submission, and the avoidance of suffering as virtues. The Christian worldview, for example, encouraged individuals to embrace meekness, humility, and an idealized form of passive acceptance in the face of life's adversities. However, Nietzsche rejected this passive view of existence. He believed that life, in its essence, is filled with struggle and suffering, but that these elements should not be feared or avoided. Instead, they should be seen as opportunities for growth and self-transcendence. According to Nietzsche, the very process of overcoming suffering and hardship is what creates the conditions for human greatness. This idea is most clearly expressed in his concept of the Übermensch, often translated as the Overman or Superman. The Übermensch is an individual who has transcended conventional morality, who has learned to embrace the struggles of life, and who continually strives to overcome limitations, both internal and external. Nietzsche's famous maxim, "What does not kill me makes me stronger," encapsulates this central idea. The challenges we face are not punishments or signs of our inadequacy, but rather opportunities to exercise and strengthen our will to power. The fundamental drive Nietzsche believed exists within all humans to overcome obstacles and grow stronger in the process. For Nietzsche, the presence of suffering does not mean that life is meaningless or devoid of value. On the contrary, suffering is what imbues life with meaning. It challenges us to confront the truth of our existence and pushes us toward a higher state of being. This idea is reflected in Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence, the notion that we should live as though we were willing to experience our lives over and over eternally. To Nietzsche, if we could fully embrace the totality of our lives, suffering, joy, love, and loss, and choose to relive them in their entirety, we would truly affirm life in its fullest form. In a world where suffering is often seen as something to escape, Nietzsche flips this understanding on its head. He argues that it is only through suffering that we are able to develop the resilience and wisdom necessary for growth. The suffering we experience, whether it be physical pain, emotional distress, or existential crises, are not mere inconveniences. They are the crucible in which our character is forged. Struggle as a form of self-overcoming. The idea of struggle and suffering being pathways to self-growth is central to Nietzsche's concept of self-overcoming. To Nietzsche, life is a constant process of becoming, a journey in which we are always striving to overcome the limitations imposed on us by our circumstances, society, and our own nature. This process of self-overcoming is not a one-time event but a lifelong commitment to transformation and growth. In Nietzsche's eyes, the individual is not born with an innate set of values or fixed characteristics. Rather, the individual has the capacity to shape and redefine themselves constantly, choosing their own path in life. The struggle to define oneself, to assert one's own will, and to challenge established norms, is essential to becoming who one truly is. This process of self-overcoming is painful because it requires the individual to confront and discard old beliefs, habitual ways of thinking, and even parts of their own identity that no longer serve them. One of the most powerful illustrations of self-overcoming is Nietzsche's idea of the will to power. The will to power is not just a desire for domination over others. It is the fundamental drive to assert oneself, to grow, and to evolve. Every individual, in Nietzsche's view, possesses this will to power, which is constantly striving for greater expression and fulfillment. The struggle involved in this drive is not one of mere external conflict but an internal battle, an ongoing tension between who we are and who we have the potential to become. For Nietzsche, to embrace struggle is to engage in this continuous process of self-overcoming. It means resisting the pull of complacency, avoiding the temptation to settle for mediocrity, and instead pursuing a life of challenge, growth, and transformation. The more we engage with life's struggles, the more we cultivate our capacity for greatness.